Benjamin, is Rishi Sunak English?
No.
Why not?
He can be British, but he's not English, in my opinion. Because when I see an Englishman, I see someone like some of the peers that I had growing up who are...
Is Bukayo Saka English?
No, not with Bukayo. It's name, isn't it?
Is Ian Wright English?
I don't know. I'm going to say he's not, because my friends that were growing up, they were...
A man named Benjamin rang into a radio show to talk politics, and within a few minutes had told the host that Bukayo Saka is not English because of his name. Not his passport. Not where he was born. His name. Then he said Ian Wright is not English either. Then Rishi Sunak. All British citizens. All not English, apparently, according to Benjamin. And the thing that makes this clip so unsettling is that Benjamin did not sound angry or extreme. He sounded completely calm. Like someone who had thought about this a lot and arrived at a place he considered perfectly reasonable. That is exactly what makes it worth paying attention to. If this is your kind of content, hit that subscribe button because we do not let this slide. Now let us get into it.
You know, got the video up, but there is a post via Restore Britain where they put out just a montage, really, online of things that Nigel Farage has said. And he's changed his opinion on. I think it's probably going to be Islam, migration, Christianity, like the white English ethnicity sort of population as a percentage. I think he's changed his stance.
But this is the problem, Benjamin, with Rupert Lowe. He bangs on about stuff like white English ethnicity. I don't want politicians talking about people's skin colour.
Why is that a problem?
Why is that a problem?
Yeah, 100 years ago, we
because
would
race
talk about
should be irrelevant.
Well, 100 years ago, when we was 200 years ago, when we was an empire, it was important to us. And perhaps,
Yeah, and we were wrong to think that. And we were wrong to think that. Race is irrelevant. Race shouldn't matter.
Are we not in a worse position now than we was 200-300 years ago?
What, and you think that's to do with race, do you?
No, but I think perhaps we should look at some of the ideas that we had back then. Well, that sounds kind of crazy.
What kind of ideas?
Talking about... I would argue that the new sort of woke, I guess, transgenderism, being politically correct, all of these sort of things that I've witnessed growing up.
Benjamin, you're just kind of doing culture war bingo at the moment, coming out with different buzzwords. What do you mean?
I think it's quite clear what I mean. I think I'm just tying it up in, bunches.
What ideas from 200 years ago should we bring back?
Let's talk about maybe, I guess one clear one would be like comedy. If you watch like Only Fools and Horses episodes when they were out there with their
you're
jokes.
allowed to watch Only Fools and Horses, Benjamin. No one has banned Del Boy.
No, but you look at that in contrast with the comedy today. I would argue that it's
but Rupert Lowe is not going to revive British comedy if he's elected Prime Minister.
No, but the reason that we are censoring ourselves like that is because of the culture. And I think once we get rid of that and we go back to just being honest and we have like real discussions, then then I think these things will cure themselves.
But why do you care about people's race?
I don't a way in which maybe it's trying to be framed. I would say I would care in the same way that if India wanted to, I don't know, take back Pakistan, we would be like, no, that's for Pakistan. Like, let them, be their whole population, 95% or whatever. But I just want the same for the English. I just think if we look at England, let's remember that, a certain demographic is white English. And I would
Benjamin,
like
is Rishi Sunak English?
No.
Why not?
He can be British, but he's not English, in my opinion. Because when I see an Englishman, I see someone like some of the peers that I had growing up who are...
Is Bukayo Saka English?
No, not with Bukayo. It's name, isn't it?
Is Ian Wright English?
I don't know. I'm going to say he's not, because my friends that were growing up, they were aware that where they were from. Like if they were Jamaican,
Junior,
or they were Indian.
Sorry, Benjamin. I got a message here from Junior I want to put to you. Okay. He says, please can you ask your caller, how would his black or brown friends react listening to him on the radio now if he has any? Do you have any black or brown friends?
Yes. Well, I would say I haven't talked to them in a while, especially not since like COVID. I would say everything's sort of quiet down. But, you know, I think if you put the same argument to them...
And if you told them, I don't think you're English, purely because of the colour of your skin...
No, I think what I would say back to them is, listen, would you want Jamaica to become 75% populated by Jamaicans and then, you know, 25% by some other? Would you be okay as, like, if Jamaicans became a minority in Jamaica? And I don't think any of them would agree with that. And I think then if we had a real conversation...
Benjamin, I honestly do not care what the racial composition of this country is.
You may not, but I think some people do. And I think that's what
Why?
Why?
Because deep down we are all the same. You can be opposed to mass immigration because you're worried about the strain it'll have on public services and the numbers coming in. Entirely legitimate. You can be opposed to the small boat crossings because we believe in border security and we don't want illegal migration and we don't know who those people are.
I think
that's okay. But when you start banging on about basically ethnic nationalism, that's deeply alarming.
Look, it may be to yourself as a radio presenter, but I think...
It's alarming to myself as a human being, to be honest.
No, but there are like certain subjects, I would say, as a radio presenter, that you probably don't want to touch. And I could roll off probably vaccines, the COVID vaccine, I would say the war in Russia.
Blimey.
And I would say our inflation problem.
Benjamin.
Everyone seems to have forgot monetary inflation.
Can I ask you something? And look, I appreciate this might sound deeply patronising, and I don't mean it to, but do you spend a lot of time online? Do you spend a lot of time on X?
Well, I would argue more since COVID than I probably did before. But I had a perspective.
I think you've gone down a rabbit hole. I've definitely.
And
I was raised in the 1970s, and it was bad then. This is overt. It's like people have been given permission to be racist, and that's what it is. As far as where Ben's coming from, and as far as Mr. Lowe, Rupert Lowe, and Nigel Farage are concerned, they're cut from the same cloth, dressed up in a suit. Back in the 1970s, we had the National Front putting leaflets through our letterbox saying, "We want our country back, go back to where you come from." That's what's happening today, and I'd like good people like you and the other listeners who won't bother calling in to know that we're right and they are wrong.
And I think what I find staggering is, when I said to Benjamin, is Rishi Sunak English, is Bukayo Saka English, is Ian Wright English? I mean, Alex, you say you're a person of colour yourself.
Yeah.
I'm guessing being in Oxford, you consider yourself English?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. I've written a book on it. I've written a book on being black and English, and I've mentioned Rishi Sunak and a whole load of other people who are as English as the ground beneath our feet. My parents got here in the 1950s, rebuilt this country. We've got people of colour keeping the NHS going, serving in the police force like I do. People who... doctors and nurses who contribute to this country being marginalised, being made to feel unwelcome. And I'm so glad, again, that people like your good self are on the right side of history. This is another chapter in the book of this country. We're going to get through it. There are going to be happier chapters ahead, but we do need people like you to help be the author of happier chapters.
Let us start with what Benjamin actually said, because it deserves to be examined clearly rather than just dismissed. Benjamin's definition of English is essentially this: if you look like the people he grew up with and have a name that sounds familiar to him, you are English. If you do not, you are British at best. By that logic, Bukayo Saka, one of the most celebrated footballers this country has produced, a man who has worn the England shirt and been booed and racially abused for missing a penalty in an England final, is not English. Rishi Sunak, who was literally the Prime Minister of this country, is not English. Ian Wright, who has given decades of his life to English football, is not English. The passport does not matter. The birth certificate does not matter. The contribution does not matter. The name and the face are the only things that count in Benjamin's definition. That is not a cultural argument. That is ethnic nationalism. And the host was right to name it exactly that. What is particularly important about this clip is what Benjamin said about how he got here. He admitted he has spent significantly more time online since COVID. He admitted he has gone down a rabbit hole. And that admission, quiet and almost casual as it was, is one of the most honest things you will hear in a clip like this, because it reveals the mechanism. Benjamin was not born holding these views. He was not raised in a household that taught him Bukayo Saka is not English. He arrived at these conclusions through an online ecosystem that fed him content, reinforced his existing anxieties, connected him to communities that validated increasingly extreme positions, and gradually made ethnic nationalism feel like common sense. That is not an accident. That ecosystem is designed to do exactly that. The algorithms that serve this content are not neutral. They are profit-driven and outrage and identity threat drive engagement more than almost anything else. And then Alex stepped in. And Alex said something that needed to be said plainly and without apology. He drew a direct line between what Benjamin was saying and the National Front leaflets of the 1970s that told his community to go back to where they came from. We want our country back. Same words, same logic, different decade, different suit. Alex has written a book on being black in English. His family has been in this country since the 1950s. His community rebuilt this country after the war. His people are in the NHS, in the police force, in every institution that keeps Britain functioning. And Benjamin's definition of Englishness would look at all of that and say still not English. Because of a name. Because of a face. This matters enormously right now because these ideas are not staying on the fringes. Rupert Lowe has talked openly about white English ethnicity as a political concern. Nigel Farage has built an entire political movement on the anxiety that Benjamin articulated in that call. And when those ideas get platformed by mainstream politicians and amplified by social media algorithms, they stop feeling extreme. They start feeling like a conversation that reasonable people are having. They are not. Ethnic nationalism dressed in a blazer and speaking calmly is still ethnic nationalism. The volume does not change what it is. Modern Britain was built by people from everywhere. The NHS that Benjamin and every person in this country relies on was staffed from the Caribbean, from South Asia, from Africa, from Ireland. The soldiers who fought for this country came from every corner of the empire. The musicians, the athletes, the scientists, the teachers, the builders who shaped what Britain is today came from everywhere. Englishness has never been a single face or a single name. It has always been an idea about belonging, about contributing, about being part of something. And the moment you start defining it by genetics and names, you have stopped talking about England and started talking about something much darker. This is Fool's Ballot. Hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments below, subscribe to the channel if you are not on board yet, and share this with someone who needs to hear Alex's words today. I will see you in the next one.